Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. This morning, for your news update, we're going to talk about how Trump clinches a groundbreaking trade deal with the UK and steps into coup tensions between India and Pakistan. He's trying to foster and be a mediator so they can essentially end these conflicts before it turns into a full-fledged war. Meanwhile, Elon Musk falls from his very controversial government role. He sends shockwaves through DC as Columbia University erupts in protests and arrests. Now, Texas makes crypto history with a Bitcoin reserve bill, SB 21, and RFK Jr. ignites controversy with Autism Data Initiative. We're going to get in some of the top stories this morning, but I do want to touch down on Trump's trade deal with the UK because President Trump has announced a very significant trade agreement with the United Kingdom, making the first major deal since the onset of global tariff policies. The agreement includes reduction in U.S. tariffs on British steel and automobiles, while the UK has agreed to ease digital service taxes and lower tariffs on U.S. imports. So again, some of the tactics and strategies that President Trump has imposed on these other countries with these very large tariffs seems as though they're starting to pay off. Because while the UK has agreed to ease digital service taxes and lower tariffs on U.S. imports such as cars and agricultural products, additionally, both nations have committed to cooperation on artificial intelligence. While the deal restores some pre-tariff conditions, it may not fully counteract the broader economic impacts of the U.S.-China trade tensions. Now, here's what we know so far, because tariffs on their British steel and aluminum, they have been slashed. And that's a big win for the UK manufacturing sector. But in return, the Brits are giving American farmers and automakers a much needed break. What they're doing is easing up on the U.S. agriculture and automotive imports. That means cheaper cars and more access to markets for our farmers, especially important as U.S.-China trade relations remain shaky at best, because we have yet to come to any solid deal with China, even though we're in those negotiations when it comes to the trade deals. But that's not all, because the deal includes strategic cooperation on artificial intelligence and digital services, two sectors that will define the global economy over the next decade. And the Trump administration is framing this as a move to fortify the West against rising authoritarian economies, more like Russia and China. And here's the twist. Keir Starmer, the UK's prime minister, is already catching heat from globalist corners of Europe, who see the deal as a step away from the EU influence. Meanwhile, Trump base is celebrating this as a proof that America first doesn't mean America alone. So let's be real. While Biden was shaking hands with NATO bureaucrats, Trump was making deals the entire time as he was coming on the forefront to be president. And this is the art of the comeback, folks: strategic, target, and nationalism. And it's got the global elite sweating bullets. Trump is like no other president we've ever seen before. He's even, depending on which side, he's even better if you're on the right, or he's much worse if you're on the left. And if you're nonpartisan like myself, then the things that pay off for America and beneficial for America, we should be all here for. Again, I think a lot of times, because your side lost, people come out and demonize and defame actions and things that the president is doing, instead of champion the good things that are going to benefit America in whole. Okay, we're not going to agree with everything. No one should agree with anybody. You don't agree with your husband. You don't agree with your wife on 100% of everything. You don't agree with your kids, your parents, etc. So again, you're not going to agree with the president with everything. But we can definitely point out some of the key things that he's doing to benefit America. Now, amid escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, which I reported yesterday, over the disputed Kashmir region, President Trump has expressed his willingness to mediate. He stated, "They have gone tit for tat, so hopefully they can stop now," emphasizing his desire for both nations to resolve their differences peacefully. And Trump has added, "If I can do anything to help, I will be there," indicating his readiness to assist in de-escalating the situation. Is President Trump trying to win one of those Nobel Peace Prizes? Is he trying to win one of those like President Barack Obama? Now, if I'm not mistaken, did President Trump win the Nobel? I'm just going to check that very quickly because I think it's important for us to note that. Did Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize? I just want to give you that live right here, guys, because I do not recall, but I thought I saw something years ago that President Trump says Trump's Nobel Prize obsession about more than world peace. So I don't know if he essentially have won one already, but they're stating that the ISSA nominates President Trump for Nobel Peace Prize because supposedly President Trump is a peace president. Supposedly President Trump is a peace president. I just want to show that very quickly. One of the representatives are trying to nominate him for a peace prize, but nonetheless, he's been trying to garner a lot of peace deals. But the only thing that I don't like about it is that we continue to involve ourselves in all of these countries' businesses. And at one point in time, I recall America, we were promoting ourselves as the world police. Like, we're going to police up all these countries so you can be just as good or close to being just as good as America. And when it comes to crime, war, famine, chaos, we should not be at the forefront of that. Okay. We have a stark history of doing, some very egregious things and things that we have curated by the way of the CIA, the NSA, Homeland Security, that we try to destabilize certain economies in certain countries. Okay. The reason why I'm speaking so vaguely, because if you don't speak exact, the government will come after you. But you and I know our government, whether you for or against. And I'm not just talking about this administration. We've had Democrats as well as Republicans do some of the same action to destabilize governments around the world. So again, maybe one administration. And again, I know that we work on a worldwide economy, but when it comes to the conflicts of a lot of these countries, anytime we stick our nose in it, I feel like we have some sort of financial obligation to support one side or another. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Now, yesterday, Columbia University witnessed a very significant protest as pro-Palestinian activists occupied the Butler Library to express solidarity with Gaza. The university administration, citing safety concerns, requested NYPD intervention, leading to the arrest of approximately 75 protesters. Some demonstrators reported injuries during the confrontation with the campus security, and the protests, organized by Columbia University Apartheid Divest, has sparked intense debate on campus and beyond. Now and again, this is some of the same things that we're used to in America, the freedom of speech, the freedom of protest. But again, on some of these things, you have to have permits and you can't do them in certain jurisdictions because they're just deemed illegal. But nonetheless, these people are getting incarcerated and going to jail for things that they believe in. Am I against that? Absolutely not. See, I think as a true blue, red-blooded American, that when we have all these different immigrants and people who have naturalized themselves in America, who are from other countries, then I understand the outcry of the most powerful country in the world and the position that we play in those countries and the influence that America can have to either end the conflict or to continue to support the conflict. I think that is what's important here, because as a foundational Black American myself, I know no other country. My aunts, my grandfather, my grandmother, my great grandmother, my great grandfather, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations. We've only known America. We've only known this land. So when people tell Black Americans to go back to your country, I think I'll just go back to Washington, D.C. I don't know anything else. My father, my mother, their father, their mother, and we're talking about 6, 7 generations. This is all we know. Because again, the history of Foundation of Black Americans that has been recorded, okay? Because there's another history prior to that that has been recorded on paper, dates back to 1526. And it don't matter what race you may be, white, Caucasian, Asian, Hispanic. I want to see if you can trace your roots back to 1526 or beyond. Because should we be saying to other groups of people, go back to your country? And secondly, because of the labeling, right? They have in the Census Bureau African American or Black American. Also in the Census Bureau, they just have white. Okay. They don't have European American. I want you guys to think about that for a second there. But nonetheless, I digress, because Elon Musk's tenure as a head of the Department of Government Efficiency under President Trump is concluding amid criticism and underwhelming outcomes. Despite initial promises of significant savings, the initiative is now viewed as costly and ineffective, meaning that everything that Musk has done meant absolutely nothing, because he only cut $160 billion from the deficit. And then, of course, the Trump administration spent more than $200 billion. Now, Musk's involvement in the Golden Dome missile defense project has raised concern about potential conflict of interest, given SpaceX unique capabilities. Additionally, Musk personnel reputation has suffered due to controversial associations and behavior on his social media platform. Now, I just want to point this out, and I've said this quite many times before. The only reason why Elon Musk is the richest man in the world is because of America. And don't forget, he is from South Africa. I know none of that really means anything. I'm not taking away from some of the innovations that his team, okay, because he reminds me of a Thomas Edison. They would like to believe that Thomas Edison was an inventor, but Thomas Edison was a businessman. That he funded projects where other people were invented things, like, take for instance, the light bulb. Lewis Latimer is a Black American who invented the carbon filament that sustained the light bulb. So he gets credit more so than other people part of the team of creating the light bulb. But because of Thomas Edison funding the project and patenting the light bulb, because of his funding, then he gets credit. That is what we're referring to when you guys work for large corporations and you create these innovation projects, you create these new methodologies and strategies and processes, that the corporation benefit from your intellectual prowess before your intellectual property. So this is kind of similar to that as well. And I believe that Elon Musk, not taking away from his intelligence or anything that he's any great ideas he come up with, but I would like to contribute a lot of the achievements of the Tesla brand, of the SpaceX brand, of the Boeing brand, of the Gronk AI brand, from a lot of intelligent people that he have brought into the fold, into his camp. But yeah, they're receiving a lot of backlash because of all the promises made by Elon Musk with none of the results. Now, the Texas House Committee has passed Senate Bill 21, moving the state closer to establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The bill, which previously passed the Texas Senate, now awaits a full floor vote. Enacted, Texas will become the first U.S. state to hold Bitcoin as a reserve asset, reflecting a very significant shift in state-level financial strategy. And we talked about New Hampshire yesterday and how they went about regulating cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as well. And I do believe that a lot of these things are very imperative when we talk about cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, alternative coins that they have, with a lot of these different cryptocurrencies that they're actually going about. And I don't really think people are understanding the importance. Now that state governments, now that the federal government, by the way of President Trump, has been speaking on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins, that if you're not already invested in a Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, also known as Ripple, Ethereum Classic, whether it be on Robinhood, Webull, Charles Schwab, Edward Jones, whatever platform that you guys are using, that you should have some sort of digital currency, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency part of your portfolio to be that bit more diverse. Because Bitcoin, last time I checked, I think it was around 99,000 99,000 per coin. And that is very, very significant when we look, if you could just have a slither or a fraction of a coin altogether. Okay. So I think that will be very beneficial for you long term, because it looks as though Bitcoins continue to rise, increase in profit and value. And even if you have $100 or $200, this is not investment advice, but just investment information. For me, I would invest that money in Bitcoin. Okay. That is just my takeaway from that. Now, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy has announced a new initiative to study autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, by analyzing data from Medicare and Medicaid enrolls. In collaboration with the National Institute of Health and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, the project aims to create a comprehensive database combining claims data, electronic health records, and wearable devices information. The research will focus on understanding autism root causes, disparities in diagnosis and treatment, healthcare accesses, and conditions economic impact. Now, I spoke about some of the pros and cons of having this database. And so it looks as though he's going about this in a very different manner. I don't know if this database are just going to have the analytical data that does not have the personal information of those people with autism, meaning, their name, their address, their social security number, their date of birth, anything that can link them in this database, who then they can then identify later. Now, they're just taking some of the research, some of the data, some of the charts that they may have, and they extrapolate, okay, they black out, they mark out their personal information. This could be beneficial. But if you're in this database, this could be a way that the government, you know what, I don't want to go there this morning, but I think you guys know what I'm getting at, especially if you guys saw my broadcast when I really broke down the pros and cons of having an autism database and how it can be beneficial or it can be very detrimental to people in that database as well. But nonetheless, I want to bring you guys on something that has been very, very viral on the internet. This was actually in China, and this is dealing with a Black couple, so to speak. But they have now, there have been many videos coming out of China for the past decade or two that in some of the museums in China that they have pictures of apes, gorillas, chimpanzees, etc., with a picture of a Black person right beside it making the same face. So they have, the gorilla, the chimpanzee making, some sort of smile or grimacing or growling face. And then they probably searched the entire internet or had some people to make those same faces. And basically they're stating that we're the same, that we're these primates, we're these apes. But this was very shocking out of China, in my opinion. Is China relations getting better because China has a large population of their countrymen in Africa? So they're changing their stance. And I'm not talking about the people, but I'm talking about the government, because we're going to go over some of the tenets of these videos very, very quickly. I have 2 videos for you guys, very, very short commentary, but I wanted to build a premise for you guys so your mind can get in the right space of the historical racist factions out of China when it comes to Black folk, mostly African, because Black Americans, we go over there, we leave, but Africans go over there for opportunities, etc. So they have more relations with Africans more so than Black Americans. Again, this built on the foundation, giving you the premise, and now we're going to get right into this video so you guys understand exactly where I'm coming from. Okay, so bear with me. I just want to give out a trigger warning. I want to give out a trigger warning because, again, There's going to be a lot of racial slurs and some profanity inside of these videos. So I want to ensure that you have small children. Okay, if you have small children or anyone who does not like that type of language, that you have the opportunity to mute the video at this time. But here we go.
Go back to your country. Go back to your country, nigger. We don't welcome black people. Black people should go. Go back to Africa. You look so fucking ugly with some dark skin color. Go back to your country. Nigger, 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 nigger. Do you eat watermelon? I'm going to send this to my boyfriend because he's white and he's your master.
Now, can I bring some context? First, she was saying the N-word over and over again. When you first heard it, was very faint. Then she said the full-blown out word. First, she was like singing a song, like a hymn, like a rhyme, like a ditty or whatever. No ditty, no pun intended. But a ditty is something you use to try to remember things, but also it's almost like a seance. You keep going back and forth. Nonetheless, I used to be in choir, so I know a couple of things. But she full-blown said the N-word and tell them to go back to your country, Africa. And the person there, I don't know if they're from America or Africa, but they started to laugh. Now, this is in China, as I stated before. And she is full-blown right in their face saying, your skin color is ugly. Okay. Now I'm going to send this video or call my white boyfriend who's your master. Now, I want you guys to think about this. No matter what race you are, the colonization of the world, mostly by the British Empire and a lot of the other European nations, Belgium, France, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Italy, Sweden, Norway, all of these countries have colonized or was very influential in colorism around the world. To the point where if you go to India, majority of the population of India is dark skinned. They're like this medium tone brown to dark skin. And of course, there's another class of Indians who have really light skin because a lot of these things have been done because of British colonialism and the influence of a lot of the European nations. And that stigmatism, that mindset, that ideology is still there. Because if she came to America, she would have to run into a white supremacist in order to get the same sort of racial rhetoric and treatment that she's treating this black person. Whereas though you go to a lot of these other countries, it's just a matter of time before it happens to you. So again, the way that the world looks at black people is as astronomically, idiotically, and stupid. Because you're judging someone based upon their skin color. You're telling me that this flak jacket, this skin jacket, has you to believe that I'm ugly, has you to believe that I'm stupid. No matter the achievement, no matter the inventions and innovations and the non-athletic, the non-entertainment things that Black Americans and Black people around the world have done, has fooled people of all these different ethnics, all these different races, and all these different countries to believe that Black life is worthless and we're good for nothing.
Sorry for what I have done. I think we're
So now what I want you guys to focus in on, this is an apology, okay? This is the same lady. Okay, let me show you my other graphic. I'm just going to pop up this other one here for you guys. Right here. Give me 1 second here. Now, this is the apology that the Chinese government, I want you guys to read the lines here. As you can see, a Chinese woman who went viral for hurling racial slurs at a black woman was arrested by Chinese authorities and forced to apologize. And this is by the Chinese authorities. She was forced to apologize. I want you guys to listen in.
They're all humans, and why I have such an opinion because my ex-boyfriend, he was brainwashing me for a long time, and now I realize it's totally wrong. I shouldn't put my personal emotions on others. I think we are all the same, and you're a.
Okay, let me give you some context. I know the audio is not as clear. She was talking about either her current or previous boyfriend was racist, and she now realized that we are all the same, that I'm no better than you. Listen, nobody wants to go to a Chinese prison. Nobody wants to go to prison anywhere in the world, but you definitely don't want to go to prison in China. There's some countries you don't want to go to prison in because the prisons are overran. You probably get a tablespoon of rice. Listen, nobody wants to go to Chinese jail. So of course she's going to apologize. Does she mean it? It seems as though she was very comfortable recording her racist encounter as the black lady was recording her. So again, is this a true apology? No, this is for public display. This is China trying to save face through this lady right here, because this doesn't resemble the sentiments and some of the things that we've all known and seen out of China of racist behavior from its citizens and its government. And even some of the racist behavior of its citizens that have businesses in Africa and how they treat Africans on their own land, where other Africans were allowing other Africans to be tied to a pole and whipped by a Chinese man, and they just stand there. Now, if you guys want any proof of that, I can definitely pop up some videos for you guys. Leave it in the comment section. I will find videos for you guys of the very same actions I'm explaining. So again, this has nothing, in my opinion, to do with this lady. This has everything to do with China trying to save face. For what reason? To garnish a larger footprint in Africa because of all the resources that Africa has. As I stated before, I did a video a couple of years ago, how Africa is the richest continent with the poorest people. I'll let this continue in case you can make out any of the audio.
Cultivated, you have quality, you know about culture, and you teach English. So I think you probably, in some ways, you are even better than me. And I shouldn't even have such things. I'm really sorry for that. Forgive me.
No, 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 no hugging. See what I'm saying? And this is my problem. Now, I don't know if this black lady is from Africa or America. I don't know. I don't know if she got paid to hug this Chinese lady, but there is no way you're going to stand in front of me and call me the N-word, 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 and sing it, then call me the N-word full blown, then tell me to go back to my country, tell me that I'm ugly, and say all these very defamatory, racist things to me. Would I stand there and let you apologize? Absolutely. I would like to see some humility. I would like to see some public display, but I do not want you to touch me. After the ill will things you said to me about my race, who I am, you don't know me. You don't know where I'm from. But you said these things. You think I'm going to hug you? The best thing, in my opinion, that this lady should have done was just turn away and walk away. Turn around and walk away. She gave this lady a full-blown hug. Lord have mercy. What are we doing?
Totally sorry.
Gave her a hug and walked away. I would not give her a hug. I don't think I would have said anything. I would allow her to apologize because I'm a very civil person. And I don't know what that apology would have did for her. But there's no way, because I want you guys to look at this again. Now, I'm going to mute the sound here. Let me show you this very quick. Look at this. Now, I want you guys to look at who engages in the hug first. Okay, I don't have the sound on because I want you guys to hear this. There was someone who directed the conversation to occur as they was recording. Okay. Now we're getting closer to the hug here. And I want you to see who starts the hug who first. Now I believe the black lady is recording. Look at this. Okay, so the Asian lady looks as though she opens up her arms to hug or handshake. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what that action was. Let me back it up one more time. Yeah, look as though the Asian lady wanted to do a handshake. Okay. Or even maybe a hug or whatever. But there was someone directing that, it seems to be like, go ahead and apologize right now. Go ahead and apologize right now. Again, race relations between black people and other races around the world should not be forced, in my opinion. It definitely should be an understanding of the value and the contributions of black people have made to society and the world as a whole. And I think people will have better respect because, again, I'm not telling all non-black people to go out and get you a black friend, but it probably would help the relations between races if you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black friends, so you can understand that 1, black people are not a monolith. 2, all black people, okay, just as well as other races, are not criminals. Only 1% of black society, when it comes to black Americans, that is, can speak for no other race, other people, other countries that have black folk. But there needs to be race relations to a point where you're interacting with black folk so you can have a better understanding. Because a lot of this racism, and I'm not giving her an excuse, comes from television, come from other people, comes from upbringing, but it does not come through the interactions and daily occurrence of speaking and interacting with black folk. You guys have a great and wonderful morning. This is Blacklogic.